I really grew up in Wharton, so Kent County. My parents still live there. A lot of my siblings still live in the county or on the shore. You know, I went to Chesapeake College and then went to various colleges after that. Got really passionate about engineering and ended up working for Dixon Valve for a little while. Then I ran into an engineering firm down in Easton, RAUCH Engineering, and started there in 2019 and really, you know, kind of taken off from there. Gotten really involved in some projects that I'm passionate about. I love building things, making things, seeing things, you know, go from a conceptual, you know, an idea into a real, you know, tangible thing that you can touch, feel, and walk through. So that part's the coolest part for me. That story kind of tracks all the way through. So what I deal with at RAUCH is a lot of, you know, municipal infrastructure, wastewater, water treatment, getting grant monies for municipalities and local governments. You know, I work closely with them. And, you know, I ended up moving to and living in Rock Hall for a number of years, realized that Rock Hall's #1 challenge is the infrastructure. You know, the water, the sewer plant's outdated. So it's just a lot. And so I thought, hey, I don't particularly enjoy politics. You know, I follow it loosely, but really the whole goal was to, hey, this is what I do professionally. Let's fix it. And then once I'm done fixing it, I will go back to just being a resident. You know, once you take care of that, you know, if I can't have anything that I can offer, I don't want to be involved, but I feel like I actually have something to offer. And decided to run. And it's been all fun since then. See, when I say it the way I do is, you know, once we fix all the issues, then I just, you know, be done, because I don't really have, I'm not a professional in anything else, and this is my passion. But to your point, yeah, honestly, if you look at just from personal experience, these type of infrastructure projects take a number of years. I would estimate Rock Hall's problems can't be solved within the next 10 years. So 10 years is probably when, if it garners constant attention and funding, we'll actually be in a good space. You know, for example, we just broke ground on the biggest infrastructure project that Rock Hall has done in decades. We have an entire water main replacement along Haven Road, 98.5% grant funded, which was huge. It took a lot of work, but that grant funding piece took almost a year. You know, I literally knocked on doors, every single door in town and the surrounding area where our infrastructure extends, to gain census data for you know, CDBG, which is the program we used. And then once that was completed, they reviewed that information and awarded us some funds. We went through 2 rounds of that and got awarded enough funding to actually do the project. And now we have broken ground and are about to finish the project. But this project, you know, was started when I was still on council. So I served 2 years on council prior to being mayor. And that was, you know, took a year and a half basically to get to this point. So that kind of gives you a time scale to judge the infrastructure projects on. Roughly 22 million. 22 million. So that's a comprehensive, all, you know, ductile iron water mains, which is a big problem. They're old and they tend to rust and fall apart. Then the other half of the problem is the water treatment plant. So the water treatment plant goes through a variety of different things. You take it out of the wells, you run it through something called a clarifier, which is a big settling tank. Then you send it to your green sand manganese filtration systems, which is just a pressurized filter of literal sand. Has some additives and stuff in it too. And then it goes out into the mains. But so that's the treatment process, and you add some chlorine and stuff along the way. But our green sand manganese filtration, those big filters that we were talking about, haven't been serviced or changed. The media hasn't been changed since they've been installed. So they're roughly 20 years old. I don't know if there's any media left in there. So there's certain components that could be done in the interim to really improve things. But overall, if you did a comprehensive rework of the entire water system, it's roughly $22 million. That is actually one of the interesting, so again, this is a 2-prong solution to this big problem. You do the ductile iron water mains, which is kind of half the problem, and then the other half the problem in the treatment plant. You can isolate certain components of the treatment plant and you know, improve the treatment there. So one of the things that we've actually talked about recently is bringing in a kind of a skid system, or a transportable, I would say, skid of filters. You can bring it on a truck, have it run parallel to the existing ones, reroute the existing water lines through the new temporary filtration, take the other ones offline, take the old media out, replace the valves and fittings, fill it back up and bring them back online, and truck out the temporary one. That would solve roughly 30 to 40% of the the water quality issues in town. So that's going to be next on the agenda, and that is far less than that 22 million mark. You can probably get that done for less than $1 million. So originally the whole idea was, the old Rock Hall Municipal building is like 20,000 square feet. It's not in great shape. It's kind of been not used for several years. It's got some structural issues, and that's on the market. So the Rock Hall Library was actually hosted on Main Street, and they're currently renting a space. The idea came about in partnering with the board of the Kent County Library in what does a permanent location for the library look like. And we have some areas around town, one of them being the Civic Center. And as the just general conversation carried, I thought it'd be a great space because the kids already go to the playground and they are there after school, and the Rock Hall Library seems to not have enough space to do some of the programs they want to do. So why not bring the library to where the kids are? That just seems like a no-brainer to me. So we had a wonderful, I would say, town-wide joint meeting between the library board and myself, and then some of the council members and the town manager. And the room was absolutely packed. It was wonderful. I have never seen that much community engagement before. Some of our meetings are a little bit slow, so people don't attend. I understand it. But yeah, and so just to have the room being packed, we gathered, I think it was gathered on sticky notes, the written comments. And each of the sticky notes would have 2, 3, 4 suggestions on them. And we had 52 sticky notes and an hour of public comment of what the vision would look like for the library, what kind of services, could it be more than just a library? Could it be a satellite campus for Chesapeake College, which has been another thing on my agenda to make happen. So it really kind of took on a life of its own, and I'm so optimistic in having such a positive project that I never even thought about, but it's listening to the community, listening to the input of the board and the needs of the residents, and saying, hey, what do we need? I'm not a pro in this, I'm good at water and wastewater, but I'm open to ideas. This idea came about, it's got a life of its own. I feel like I'm just facilitating this, but I'm happy to do that. And so hopefully that project, we're looking for funding to make it happen, maybe 2025, 2026. So before the end of my first term, we might actually have a permanent and wonderful and community-based library for Rock Hall.
That's fantastic.
I would say the other piece, so again, my main focus is infrastructure. Right. Aside from that, I also teach at Chesapeake College. My mom has always been a teacher, and she's a wonderful teacher, so I get a little bit of that from her. And I think education and retaining younger people, younger families, allowing them to live, exist, work, raise their children in Rock Hall. If you look at the shift in demographics, we recently went through a comprehensive plan which included a lot of demographic analysis. And if you look at the change in population demographics, it's essentially flipped. We had a lot of younger population, young families that lived, resided, worked, raised their families in Rock Hall. And now it is a very small minority. So not only is Rock Hall at the lowest population it's been in several decades, but it also has the lowest growth in young people. And that's a challenge not only in Rock Hall, but in the county. So getting creative with that by addressing that from a two-prong approach. One being making sure that we have enough economic development, and then the other being housing. So recently established the Economic Development Committee in Rock Hall with the focus of looking at what we're doing from a regulatory and business standpoint and what we're doing from a housing standpoint and trying to bring those two together. Because if we can have affordable housing and then decent jobs that are not entirely seasonal, then I think we can establish that good base. And so what does that look like? That's a good question, but it's looking at loosening up some restrictions on, let's say, ADUs, or some smaller types of homes, or allowing just mother-in-law suites, those types of apartments, encouraging apartments over top of businesses, that type of stuff to allow people that don't make a ton of money or maybe aren't retired or something like that to live there and work there. And then the other half of that is making sure that they can work there, which is how do you drive economic growth that isn't entirely seasonal? And so that, I think the big initiative, the thing that I'm working on the hardest, is getting a satellite campus of the skilled trades program through Chesapeake College in Rock Hall. And that's starting with something that is historically significant, being the marine trades. So Chesapeake College has a fantastic marine trades program. They have a great skilled trades program overall. But I had a meeting with Cliff Coppersmith, the president of Chesapeake College, last week about bringing, I would say, pilot programs of existing established programs at Chesapeake College, housing them as in a satellite campus in a limited capacity in Rock Hall, establishing that and building on that. So what I would love to do is bring the marine trades to Rock Hall, where Rock Hall has always been a waterman and waterfront and boating town. So let's build on that. Let's retain some of those people that maybe have family roots, family ties in that industry. Give them something to learn. Give them their kids and their kids' kids the ability to learn a skill, maybe start their own business, add a little entrepreneurship in there, but let them work for the 13 marinas that we have in and around the town. Honestly, I think that's what it takes, right? You can have good ideas. You can have, even have the money to do something, which we don't. But if you have a vision that inspires people, and if you have an energy that inspires people, then, I don't have to know everything. It takes the people that, if I set a vision and say, hey, I want this campus, this school, other people have come up to me and said, oh, I know a little piece of how to make this happen. I know how to potentially get a grant to fund this particular program. I know somebody that'll teach this program. And it's like you said, contagious. People latch on to inertia and ideas, and if you can inspire people, you can just set back and it takes a life of its own, and all you have to do is facilitate it. Similar to that library project, that's what I want to see happen with the Rock Hall Maritime School, or whatever you want to call it.